Kevin Briscoe, thanks for sitting down with TalkToDrivers.com.
Thank you.
You're going to get to race this year with your son Chase. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I'm very excited. It's not been a dream of mine because I really didn't want him to race, but yeah, I think it's going to be pretty neat to be able to race against him, and maybe after we race together, when I beat him, that he'll listen to Pops a little more.
What do you think of all the kids in racing today?
I have no problem with kids racing, just like I'm moving my son up. He's just turned 13. It's not about the age, it's about the mentality of each driver, and just like I said, I don't have a problem with age. There's 30-year-olds I don't like to race against. There's so many good, young, talented drivers out there that will race you wheel to wheel, close side to side, never touch you, and then there's drivers that'll run over you in a heartbeat, but it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with the mentality of the driver, and it's not the age issue, and I have no problem with it.
When you finally retire, will you be your crew chief?
I'm already part-time crew chief on my son's car, and yes, I will be a crew chief, and that was his biggest problem we raced this weekend. The crew chief screwed up the setup, so I've got a lot to learn, but I've also got big plans. I want to win the lottery one of these days. I want to own a USAC team and crew chief it, and I'll play on the side, and I'm going to hire Dickie Gaines to be my driver, and we're going to have a tribute to Dick Gaines' car in the white, red, and lemon, so it's going to be cool when I win the lottery.
What was one of your most embarrassing, amusing moments in racing to date?
I really can't think of a lot of things that's happened that's been embarrassing. I mean, I might have tripped or something at the racetrack, but I have spun out while leading, and that was pretty embarrassing, I guess. More make you mad than embarrassed, but yeah, I've spun out leading a race before.
There have been several drivers in the Briscoe-5. Which ones taught you the most about racing?
I mean, every one of them had a part in me learning the sport. I mean, I never raced anything before I got in a sprint car, and I jumped in a sprint car, and I had a good idea of what to do just by listening to each and every one of them, put input to my dad, and listen how that car reacted and what they should be doing to it. But the one that stands out the most would be Chuck Amati. He took the time. I rode to every racetrack with him when I was a kid. He had a van, and I'd ride with him and Debbie to the racetrack, and I just asked him question after question after question. The one that he told me that meant the most was, Kevin, there's an egg under that throttle, and you cannot break that egg on the way down as on the way up. I mean, you got to be smooth with that throttle down and up, and he just answered so many questions, and we had a good time together. And once I started racing, about my third or fourth time driving, he came up to me and he put his arm around me. He said, "Little Briscoe," he said, "I never dreamed when I was giving you all this information you were going to use it to beat me on the racetrack." So that was pretty neat. And then Jack Hughes also taught me quite a bit. He taught me that back before the cone days, it's either jump or be jumped, and he taught me a lot about racing too. So I just have so much respect for each and every one of the drivers that drove for my dad in the past.
The Briscoes have owned a car since the 70s. Does the rising cost worry you about that part of racing?
Most definitely I worry about the cost. It's to the point where a team like us is about to have to fold because we can't afford to do it. But it seems like that there's teams coming into it every day, and there's a lot of money out there. It's just that it's unfortunate that the cost is getting so extreme that the little guy is going to be ran out before long.
You've won 5 points titles at Bloomington. Can you explain your success there?
Just racing there a lot. I mean, I've raced there since 1986, probably about every Friday night, and in all honesty, Bloomington was one of my worst tracks in the early days of my racing. I was successful at Hobstadt and Lawrenceburg, but Bloomington was always a thorn in my side, and I would always run off the racetrack, just overdrove it all the time, and my dad would be on to me about overdriving, and one day it all just clicked, and when it clicked, I just took off and started winning races there consistently. And Bloomington is a tough racetrack. It's a very fast racetrack, but it's a very easily overdriven racetrack. I mean, so yeah, Bloomington has been successful just because I've learned how to get around it by being patient.
You have fans. What are you a fan of?
And I'd say basketball is my biggest pastime besides racing. I love college basketball. I love high school basketball. I go to about every high school basketball game here locally. And my boy plays basketball, and I love going to the junior high games that he's in. And I actually coached a basketball team for the last 5 years, so basketball is my other passion besides racing.
You have taken some pretty hard crashes. Did any of them make you rethink driving race cars?
No, not one crash has made me rethink driving a race car, but yes, I have been banged up with the head problem that I have what they call post-concussion syndrome. But I've been very fortunate over my racing career that none of my crashes were life-threatening or hospital stays. Just very fortunate and blessed that I came through it as long as I have the way it's been. So very fortunate.
Kevin Briscoe, thanks for spending some time on TalkToDrivers.com.
You're very welcome.